Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Red Alert Lab. This is the video number 101. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been working now for 12 videos on discussing the documentation which is called CIS Critical Security Controls version 8, which is provided by the organization called Center for Internet Security, which is an organization, its main focus on issuing security standards and security recommendations for securing most of the operating systems and applications, and also to protect yourself against cybersecurity attacks. And we are discussing this topic, okay, through the documentation of critical security controls, okay, issued by this organization. So we have discussed the first 3 points to protect yourself against cybersecurity attacks in all of our previous 12 videos. The first 3 recommendations to secure yourself against cybersecurity attacks. First point is to make an inventory of your enterprise assets hardware, and the second point is to make an inventory of your enterprise assets software, and the third point is to protect your data. We have discussed all of this in details. Please refer to my previous videos to see that or to know it in details or more details. Today we'll discuss the fourth point to protect yourself against cybersecurity attacks, which is let me show here the PowerPoint presentation. It's secure configuration of enterprise assets and software. So this is basically the main focus of the Red Alert Lab. We have discussed in this lab how we can secure all of our operating systems and our operating systems which is installed on workstations or servers. The main focus of this point of this documentation of securing configuration of enterprise assets and software to secure the configuration of the workstations, the configuration of the servers, the configurations of the Cisco switches, the configuration of the router, the configuration of the firewall. All of these are configurations, so you are mainly focusing on securing configurations, and I have focused on the Red Alert Lab to secure operating systems. So this is one of the things what we mean by secure enterprise assets, configurations and software. Simply, let me show you on the graph here to make it more clear. If we go to the graph here, we remember that we have our domain, okay, this is done with a certain configuration, and then we have installed the 2 domain controllers that have a Windows Server core in it, and also they have some configuration on it, and we have installed application servers, and these application servers have also operating systems installed on it and have an applications installed on it, and both have configurations. And there is workstations that has Windows 11 installed on it and Windows 10 installed on it. They also have some applications installed on this operating system. So and we have also firewall or router to get to the internet. So we have a lot of things actually here in this domain. We have servers that contains operating systems we should secure, and we have some servers that have operating system and have applications on it, so we should secure the operating system and the application. And we have workstations that have also operating systems on it, we should secure it and secure the application installed on it. So, and also we have a firewall that has configuration on it and we need to secure it. So basically there is a lot of configuration done here. We have a lot of software configuration, which is basically configuration of the operating system, configuration of the applications, and we have configuration of some network devices like the firewall and the switches we need also to secure it. So the basic point today is to secure configuration of all of these devices. So what we do is what is the beginning of the configuration or securing configuration. The configuration begins with firstly something called establish configuration. So when we install the Windows operating system on servers, on workstation, we are establishing a configuration, or we are set up a configuration. This configuration may be the name of the server, the IP of the server, the group policies applied on this server. So this is to establish a configuration, okay? And then maybe if there is certain operating system updates or application updates, we need to tweak the configuration or to maintain and change the configuration. This is number 2. And at the end, we need to secure the configuration. So we have 3 phases for the configuration of all of our network. First of all, we need to establish a configuration for all of our different devices in our network. Then we need to maintain this configuration by changing it according to different changes, maybe changes to operating systems or changes to firmwares. And at the end, we need to secure these operating systems. And this is the main focus of this point. We have discussed in this Red Alert Lab a lot of recommendations and PDFs to secure different operating systems. So here is focusing on securing the operating system or securing your configuration, not only the operating system, securing the configurations in all of your network. Okay, configuration of Cisco switches, configuration of routers, configuration of operating systems, configuration of applications. So it is basically something called the hardening. We need to harden the configuration of all our network. And not only this, we need to our configuration, we need to make an initial configuration and then to update this configuration when needed according to changes, maybe operating system or something. And at the end, we need to secure. This is called the life cycle of the configuration. So all of these cycle of the configuration, it needs to be stored and to be maintained. So there is special softwares that can save all of these configurations of different devices in a database and maintain it, and not only maintain it, to make relationships or to drive relationships between different configurations. So for example, here, for example, maybe there is a client connecting to the domain controller. So here some devices or some software can make a relationship, for example, saying that this, or create a relationship or drive a relationship that this device is connected somehow to the domain controller. So if a change is made to the domain controller configuration, this maybe affect the device. So this is a relationship. Some of the softwares do this. So the point that we are talking about here, let me go again here. To secure configuration of enterprise assets and software, we need to secure all of our configurations in our network. So for example, we need to secure Windows 10 on workstations. We need to secure Windows Server on servers. We need to secure Office applications on workstations. We need to secure applications, maybe financial application on a server, for example. And this server that contains the application of the finance, also we need to secure the operating system of the server that contains the financial application. Maybe there is server core, so we need to secure it. Anyway, we need to secure all of our configurations in our network. So to do this, we need to have a plan, to plan how we can have something called configuration management process, how we can make a plan to establish a configuration for all of our network devices, and to maintain this configuration and change it when needed, and to secure this configuration by applying different standards or security recommendations. One of these recommendations is the CIS recommendations, for example, all the Department of Defense recommendations of the United States we have discussed in all of this video. So we have done this already, but we need to have all of these configurations in a plan or in a diagram, and to save all these recommendations in a database and maintain it so we can refer to it later when something happens. And not only this, we can saving this configuration in a database can be after that linked to different softwares that can through it detect any problem that happened. So for example, if you have the configuration of the server on a database and the workstations on the database, maybe a software, if a problem happened to a workstation after a configuration has been changes of one of the servers that is related to this workstation, then the software can detect because, or can detect what happened, because it will detect the relationship between the server and the workstation. I will show you a software that do like this, but we need shortly in this recommendation, it says that you need to secure all of your configurations in your network. Okay, configuration, that means configuration of servers, configuration of workstations, configuration of devices like routers and switches. Okay, configuration of everything in the network. Okay, this is thing how to secure these configurations by applying different providers or different publishers of security standards. For example, Department of Defense of the United States issues a lot of recommendations to secure different devices, so we can use it as a base or a guideline to secure all of our recommendations, to secure all of our software and hardware configuration in our network. So this is it. To secure your configuration of different devices in your network, we need to have a diagram or to have something called configuration management process plan or guide. How to do this? I will show you a university in the United States that have a guide for its configuration management process. I will show you this, but before that we need to know what is the configuration management process and what is the configuration management database. Okay, let me show you all first what is the configuration management process. Let me show you something like this. Here we go, just a moment. So let me show you a little bit of, okay, configuration. Let me show, no, that is this one. What is configuration management? Okay, configuration management process. Configuration management is a process for establishing and maintaining consistency of products performance. Let me show you all here. Performance, functionality, and physical attributes with its requirements, design, and operational information through its life. Anyway, he's saying here configuration management is a system engineering process for establishing consistency of products attributes throughout its life. Anyway, the configuration management process is simply the establishing of the configuration. This is the first thing in this process, establishing initial configuration for every devices in the network, then maintaining this configuration by changing it when needed. Maybe there is a software update or a system update that will after installing it you need to change the configuration of the device, and at the end you need to secure this configuration at the end. So this is the configuration management process. Okay, and there is some specialized software to do this. Okay, there is some softwares that can let you manage this process, okay, and document it. So let's see one of these softwares, something called Service Desk. This is a very famous program for doing this, but let me show you all what is this, or let me see here. So to control or to have the configuration management process monitored or to establish a configuration or to the configuration management process, you should establish the configuration and maintain the configuration and secure the configuration. All of these are stored in a database. So the configuration of all of your network can be stored on something called configuration management database. Okay, what is the configuration management database? IT is critical, IT expensive. This is not it. Configuration management. How old? Configuration. What is configuration management? How old are they? What are the versions? So configuration management here, this is your network, and you are making a database that contains all of the configurations in your network. First of all, the devices. How old are they? What are the versions of operating systems on it? What are how these components are related to each other? Okay, this is also something from the configuration management perspective. So you need to as a part of your configuration, okay, to know the configuration. How old are the devices? What are the versions installed on these devices? How they are related? If there is certain servers related to certain workstations. So this is it. What if a component changed or failed? Okay, so these are all related to the configuration management, okay, or maintaining the configuration management. So the configuration management will give you something related to, or the configuration contains the version of the operating system, the components of the operating system, the different relationships between different configurations, okay. And the configuration management also should tell you what if a component changes or fails, okay. And we can see here that there is a lot of, by changing or by time, a lot of devices are introduced to your network. So for example, if I have a couple of servers and a couple of workstations, then you have a small configuration database or a small configuration to maintain. But what if you have a lot of devices and a lot of workstations that are increasing day by day, and some of them are out and some of them are in of your network? So how you can maintain all of these configurations at once? Okay, so you need to have a specialized software to maintain this kind of configuration, to save it and to make a graph for it, or to have a list of the different configurations. Okay, so this is it. Here, what is a CMDB? A configuration management database is a warehouse of data describing an organization's IT assets and how they are configured and work together to provide value to the company. So we can see here that it will save, a configuration management database will save the different configurations of the different IT assets. Okay, so this is a database to save all of your configuration of all of your devices. Okay, this is very, very important. So we have a backup of all of these configurations, and not only this database also contains information about your assets. It will count your assets, software assets or hardware assets. So let's continue about what is a CMDB. So the configuration management process, it is saved to a configuration management database, and this is done by a software, something called Service Desk Plus, and a software called Sharewell. Anyway, we will discuss these two devices or these two softwares. The configuration management process depends on the CMDB to answer the questions we have just discussed. So the configuration management process or the configuration will be saved to a CMDB or a configuration management database, and through it we can answer some questions concerning the configuration. Maybe how old are the devices, what are the configurations of the devices, what are the components of the devices. By the way, the component of the device, this is a configuration. Okay, so this also should be done or should be answered by the CMDB. Anyway, so we'll continue. Here we have a CMDB. This contains an hardware inventory and the software inventory, and the hardware configuration and the software configuration. So these are what the CMDB contains. Okay, so you will have here classes. These classes means different items. For example, maybe you have hardware, this is called the class, a software, this is called the class. Okay, and then we have something called configuration item. This is the item, maybe a computer or a software. Let me show you all something here. So here we can see that, for example, this is hardware class. Okay, this a hardware class contains configuration items. This is a computer or a printer or a router. All of these are configuration items. These are the attributes or the serial and the location. So these are called attributes or the name also. So for example, here computer A, this is a configuration item. Its name, its serial, its location, these are attributes of the item. Okay, so here we have, for example, a hardware class. Okay, oh, this is, it is classified, or this is a class hardware, so this contains all of the hardware of your enterprise. And then we have configuration items. This is maybe a computer, a printer, or whatsoever, and these items have name and serial and location. So all of these are stored in the hardware class table, and we can use this information in the CMDB, or the configuration management database, to monitor the configuration. So if anything changes, we can change it. So this is called the configuration. This is not maybe something like a software or software configuration, for example, but this is a hardware configuration. Okay, so any change in this hardware, it may be affect the hardware configuration, it will affect the machine. So this is something we can save and monitor through the CMDB. So let's go again to the software. So again, the software contains something like also like the software name, the software serial, and something like this. This is called software class. So let's continue. This is something like this. Okay, and for example, after that, maybe the hardware after that can be subdivided to different items. So for example, hardware, maybe it can be subdivided to network devices, computers, and printers. Okay, and then computers can be subdivided to personal computers, mainframe, or servers. So this can be classified to different items, and these are all hardware configuration, and this is saved to a database. It is initialized or collected and saved to the database, and then it is maintained or changed according to changing your hardware. And then we should secure this hardware configuration, maybe by implementing physical security recommendations, something like for example, if you don't, or if you don't want for example, someone to steal something from your workstation, maybe you can put a lock on the workstation so no one can open the case and, for example, get a RAM. So this is securing your hardware configuration. Okay, this is not related to securing your software. Okay, this is another thing, but this is how you can secure your hardware. So this is all are stored in the CMDB. Let me go further. So these are all things that will be put in this one. So CI relationships, in most cases IT components are not fully productive by themselves. CIS works together with other CIs in order to create a value. So there is a configuration item, maybe a computer, maybe a printer. Some softwares make a relationship between different configuration items. So for example, maybe a printer is connected to a certain PC, so there is a relationship between the configuration item, which is the computer, and the configuration item, which is the printer. So there is a relationship. Okay, so if any change happened to two configuration items that are related to each other, this will affect them. So for example, maybe if there is a change in the printer, or for example the printer was malfunction, or it is not working properly, so the device or the computer will not be able to print. So this is a change that happened to the printer, make it faulty, so this affected the workstation this printer is connected to. So this kind of softwares will make CI relationships. So some software will make something called configuration management database. In it will store all of your configuration of all of your devices, and it will make a relationship between the different configuration items in your network. It will relate a printer to a PC, it will relate a server to a PC. So if a configuration of one of these items is changed, the one that have a relationship to it will be affected. So this is something, let me show you here in a graph. So for example, maybe this PC is connected to a router, so there is a relationship, it gets out to the internet, and this PC also contains a software that is installed on this PC, and this software connects to a server database that it gets its data from. Okay, and this database, it is installed on a server rack that is installed in it a UPS or something that provides electricity to this server. So we can see here that all of these are related. So for example, if the UPS is faulty and there is no electricity, the server will be down, and database which is linked to this software will be down, and the software itself will be down, so this PC will not be able to open the software. So for example, maybe if there is a change in the configuration of this software, this PC will not work. Or if there is a change in the database configuration, maybe it will affect the software and it will affect the PC. So they are all related to each other. So you need to, there is some softwares that will relate the different configurations to each other. So for example, the configuration of the database will affect the configuration of the software, and the configuration of the software will affect the configuration of the PC. Okay, and the configuration of the servers, okay, will affect the three, and the configuration of the UPS will affect all of them, and the configuration of the router will affect the PC accessing the internet. So if you have a change in the configuration of the router and it was not working properly, it will not get this PC to the internet. Okay, so you need to have this kind of relationships known in your network. So you need to make a diagram called configuration management flow, for example, or configuration relationships or configuration process relationships. Okay, this can be done using some kind of software. So let's get it more further. Here, for example, let me show you. So it's here, for example, some kind of relationship that this PC runs on a certain kind of software, and this software uses a database, and this database runs on a server, and this is cooled by a UPS or this is not a UPS, this is a cooler, so it is cooled by something. These are all the relationship types. So this is a relationship that this PC runs on it, a software, though this is the relationship, and this software uses a database. So this is the relationship between these two, and this database is on this rack, and this is the relationship, it runs on this rack, and at the end it is cooled by a air conditioner or something. And here this depends on, so it gets to internet, it depends on this router to get to the internet. So this is the relationship. There is a kind of software that will make this kind of relationship. So for example, if this configuration is changed and this PC depends on this router to get to the internet, then this PC will not get to the internet. So this configuration is critical for this PC to have internet access. Okay, so when you plan a change to, for example, change the configuration of the router, then you need to know that it will not affect the router itself, it will affect the PC again, or all of the PCs connected to this router. So if you intend to change something in the database, then you should know that this change will affect the PC and it will affect the software on this PC. So if there is anything happens to this database, this software will not work and this PC will not be able to work on this software. So they are all related to each other. If this cooler is not working properly, then the server rack will not be able, or it will be heated and some of them may be stop, then database will stop, then the software will stop, then the PC will not work. Or you are changing the cooler, you are making or getting a new air condition. So if you do not plan this well, this will affect all of these. So this is the cycle, or the configuration items relationship. So how you can get different configurations to be stored in the CMDB. Some of them are entered manually, so you can enter the configuration, for example, for a workstation manually through a software to be recorded to the CMDB, Or auto detection, a software will detect different configurations in your network for different devices and it will be stored in the CMDB, or you can import it through Excel or SQL database. So again, why we have a CMDB? We have a CMDB or configuration management database to store the different configurations of our devices, to store it and to maintain it and to change it when needed, and to relate the different configurations for different devices, so we can relate different configurations to each other, so we can know which configuration will affect another configuration. So this is very, very critical, and there is a special software for doing this. Let me go further and show you all. So let's go further. Okay, here for example, this we have seen this graph. So for example, we can go further. For example, maybe all of these, for example, this is maybe a PC and this is a software client, or this is an email client like Outlook, and this Outlook connects to an email server, and this email server, it is in a rack and it is cooled by an air condition, and this PC connects to the internet to reach the email. Maybe all of these are internal servers or Office 365 email, for example. Anyway, so these are all related to one service, so you can relate different configurations to each other and related to a service. So maybe all of these services are related to the email service. This is a database for an email server, this is a rack that contains the email server, and this is the software that through it you can connect to the email server, and this is the PC connects to the email server, and this is the router that gets or connects the PC to the internet to get to the email server. Okay, so this is an email, so all of these are email service. Maybe this is an ordering service, so for example this is maybe a purchasing or an inventory software installed on a rack, and this is a software to run this inventory. So as the inventory is saved onto a database, and you can access this database through an application, and the application and database are stored on a rack or on a server, and it is cooled also by an air condition. So this is also related to the ordering service. And maybe this is the payroll. This is a database that contains HR application, or it is connected to an HR application. So all of these are related to the payroll service. So you can relate different configurations to each other, a PC to a software to a database to a rack, or you can relate all of these to a certain service. Okay, so this is also something a software can help you to do it. Okay, so this is a kind of software that will help you do all of this. So this is the CMDB. We can use the CMDB if there is a problem or an incident that happened. We can go to the database and see maybe there is a configuration. For example, maybe one of your users say that his printer is not working, and this happened because a certain configuration or a configuration of the printer is changed, and this is stored in the CMDB. So we can go and check the CMDB and see the configuration that was changed, that will help us to solve an incident, a problem. Or maybe you need to change the configuration. So for example, maybe you are upgrading the firmware of the printer, and this will affect the configuration, so you need to change the configuration and save it to a database. Okay, you can solve a problem, or you can record configuration operations. Anyway, the CMDB will help you to solve a lot of things. It will help you to maintain your configuration, to solve incidents, problems, or to record the changes to different configurations in this CMDB. So this is done through something called ServiceNow program, or there is something called Sharewell. So again, our focus point in this lab, or sorry, in this video, again, here we need to secure configuration of enterprise assets and software, and this will be done, okay, when we make a guide for our configuration process management. So we need to have a graph that will discuss our configuration management process, and we need to have a guide how we can maintain our configuration, how we can establish a configuration, how we can maintain it, how we can secure it, and all of this data will be saved to a database. And not only this, we need, so for example, these phases are all to store and maintain the database, but to secure it we need to work with certain policies or certain for example the Department of Defense recommendations to secure different items, or to secure different, for example, we have the configuration of the Department of Defense to secure Windows 10, to secure Windows 11. We have discussed this. So this is a little bit of a brief what is the configuration management process, and let me show you all again a little bit of a PDF that contains let me show you all something like this. This is called configuration management process. So this is a university. Okay, let me show you all. This is configuration management process, Vanderbilt University. Okay, let me show you all what is this guide for. Okay, the document describes configuration management process and configuration management database that is implemented in shareware. This is software that will save the configuration to a database. So the software contains a database that will contains all of our configuration of all of our different devices. Okay, let me show you all here again something here. The purpose of the configuration management process is to ensure that assets required to deliver service are properly controlled and that accurate and reliable information about these assets is available when it is needed. Okay, so this is the scope or the objective of the configuration management process. Okay, so why we have something like this guide? Okay, here to have a database that contains all of our configurations, and through this database we can see if there is some configurations are old, we can retire it, or there is some configurations that we change, okay, or something. So we have a database that contains all of our configuration. Okay, and establish a single standard configuration management process for maintaining the CMDB that integrates with change management process. Anyway, so the configuration management process is to establish configuration, to maintain configuration, and to secure configuration. All of these, or especially when you are establishing and maintaining the configuration, this will be saved to a database. Anyway, so these are the objectives, and then here is saying what are the configuration items that will be included in this guide. Okay, this contains the data center and the cloud production environment, all of the environment, servers, workstations, routers, or something, and what will be excluded will be maybe mobile devices, smartphones, or something like this. Anyway, so this is a guide. Okay, here we can see that he's saying what are the configuration items. Maybe it will contain network devices, access points, firewalls, routers, switches, and circuits. We can get all of these configurations from netconfig. Okay, this is a CMD command to get of the configurations of these devices and put it in the software, okay, or the shareware software that will collect the configurations of the network devices. Servers, we can get all of these configurations from the SCCM, or the security configuration system. I think this is a software related to Microsoft, and this is also a software that it's an inventory software that will collect configurations about the hardware of these servers, and maybe some software configuration, maybe something. Anyway, storage we will get. So here this is a category, or this is the table how we can get the configuration of network devices, servers, storage, data center facilities, equipment, SSL certificates, database, middleware, application, telephone equipment, classroom, and conference technology. All of these are items. How we can get the configuration of these items? Okay, to get it by a command from a software, or manual by importing it through Excel sheets or something, or so you can get the configuration of these different devices either automatically by software, or by certain commands manually, to get the information manually using a certain command, or through importing it using an Excel sheet or something like this. So this is it. And then we can see that this is a certain graph that will show the process of collecting the database. It will start, so it will start here, and then it will discover the different devices, okay, and then it will be recorded. So it will start, and then some agents will discover the different devices in your network, and then it will be uploaded to the operating system. So here, let's see, add agents CIS to fire scope discovery. So there is a software that will discover the different devices, and then it will import it to another software, which is Sharewell. Okay, this contains the configuration. So there is different softwares. Actually, there is a software that will collect servers configuration and import it to another software, which is Sharewell. Sharewell, it is a software used by this university to collect different configurations from different softwares. So for example, FireScope, this is a software that will collect configurations for servers and workstations. And there is other softwares, for example, for the telephone PBX, maybe another thing that will communicate with Sharewell to put its configuration or the telephone configuration to the Sharewell database. Anyway, so this is a kind of guide, okay, that shows how we can work. This is a guide, and he's saying here some things about who is responsible for collecting this configuration, and who is responsible for maintaining it. Okay, the requester, the configuration manager, a lot of things actually. So this is a policy. I will leave it for you guys to in a link in the Google Drive to see. This is a configuration management process. Okay, I will leave it in Google Drive link to, so you can all see how we can use something like this. Okay, so this is it, I think. Then okay, I think here this is the CMDB. I have discussed it, and then the configuration, and I think there is something here else. Okay, so here this is a little bit of a brief how we can secure the configuration of our enterprise assets and software. Here we can see, for example, there is some things here or some bullet points. Establish and maintain and secure configuration process. Establish and maintain a secure configuration process for enterprise assets, okay, end user devices, portable devices, and so I think maybe we need to stop here because we have reached 42 points. Okay, here I will discuss the points, okay, related to this objective or this control, the upcoming video. Those videos will form to you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.